Welcome back to Recap IT. Today we are going to recap a 2022 action thriller movie titled The 355. When a top-secret weapon falls into the hands of a bunch of mercenaries, CIA agent Mason Mace Brown joins forces with a competing German agent, a cutting-edge computer specialist, and a Colombian psychologist. The four women go on a high-speed adventure to save the world while staying one step ahead of a mysterious entity who is watching their every move. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now, without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? The film begins in the south of Colombia. Elijah Clark meets with Santiago and his son Geronimo, a local drug lord, who presents him with a superweapon capable of accessing networks and computer systems all across the world. They show it by piloting a plane that is flying overhead. Clark and his thugs kill Santiago and Geronimo in an attempt to steal the weapon, but police raid the scene shortly after, causing Clark to leave. Luis Rojas, a government agent, discovers the drive containing the weapon and steals it. The higher-ups at the CIA headquarters in Langley realize that Luis has taken the disc and is willing to sell it in order for him and his family to flee to safety. Agent Mason Mace Brown and her partner Nick Fowler are approached by director Larry Marks about recovering the disc. The two plan to pose as a couple on their honeymoon for a cover story, but there is a genuine love between the two agents. Mace and Nick fly to Paris and visit a cafe where Luis is waiting to drop a bomb. Another spy, Marie Schmidt, who is disguised as a cafe server, intercepts their bag. Mace pursues Marie, while Nick pursues Luis. Mace pursues Marie all the way down to the subway and attempts to shoot her, but Marie escapes by hopping on a train, only to discover that the package she received included the money that Mace and Nick were planning to give Luis. Meanwhile, Nick pursues Luis through the streets, but he loses track of him and ends up in an alley, where he is met by Clark and one of his henchmen, who question Nick's ability to drive. He declines their offer. Luis enters his room and is greeted by Graciela Rivera, a psychologist. She attempts to find out where he keeps the drive because she knows he can rely on her. Marie meets with her supervisor, Jonas Muller, at the same time, to obtain information about Mace and Nick. Despite Jonas' best efforts to keep Marie where she is, Marie convinces him to let her go after the drive. Mace arrives to Langley, where Marks informs her that Nick has been shot and killed, causing her great distress. Marks instructs Mace to go find the drive on her own. She travels to London to see an old acquaintance, cyber intelligence expert Khadija Adiem, who she hasn't seen in a long time. Mace tries to persuade Khadija to join her on the mission after sitting through one of her presentations, but she says she is done with the job they used to perform together. She is happily married to Abdul and lives in London. Khadija assists Mace in gathering intel on Marie and Luis in order to trace the latter after Mace emphasizes the gravity of the assignment and how the drive falling into the wrong hands may lead to World War III. Luis and Graciela are tracked down by Mace and Khadija to a factory, where Marie is also hunting for them. As she approached Luis, she knocked out one of the agents, but Mace intercepted her and they began fighting. While battling, one of his fellow agents turns on him and shoots him. After being pursued by Mace and Marie, Khadija pursues the gunman, who flees on a boat. Graciela remains by Luis' side as he passes away, and he gives her a phone that she can unlock with her fingerprint. Marie locates Graciela and takes her to a safe house, where she is interrogated about the trip. Later, Mace and Khadija discover them. Khadija breaks up a fight between Mace and Marie by convincing them to put their differences aside and work together. Khadija tracks the gunman to Morocco using Luis' phone and Graciela's fingerprint. The ladies travel to Marrakesh in order to track down the villain at a market. Before being stabbed to death by a bunch of thugs, he handed up the drive to a man. Who are likewise pursuing the drive. The ladies kill the men, then follow him through a crowd, slipping unobserved, intercepting the drive and bringing it to safety. Khadija decrypts the contents of the drive, and they later arrange for Marks to receive it. The ladies then go out for drinks, where they bond and find that Marie's father was a Russian double agent, and she had to turn him in. Back at the CIA headquarters, a woman enters and assaults Marks before fatally shooting him. Later, the ladies watch news stories about many airline catastrophes and power outages in two locations. They understand the drive has actually ended up in the hands of the wrong people. They arrive to HQ to find Marks dead before being apprehended by other CIA agents led by Grady. The females take advantage of the situation and disarm the agents before fleeing. They track down the gunman and kidnap him in order to extract information from him. Marie shoots him in the leg, threatening to kill him until he says what they want to hear. The shooter eventually relents and informs them of an upcoming auction in Shanghai. They wrapped him in a tourniquet so he wouldn't die. The team travels to Shanghai in disguise to attend the auction. One bandit tries to flirt with Graciela, who is just starting out in the field. Mace is taken aback when she learns that Nick is still alive. She quickly discovers, however, that he is working with Clark and is accompanying her on the drive. While Mace fights one of his goons, Nick waits for the auction to begin. Later, he discovers that the woman who murdered Marks is holding the drive with her father. When Marie sets up an explosion, he removes the drive after purchasing it just before the cops arrive. The woman then dismisses the officers and summons the ladies to her. Lin Misheng, a Chinese spy who has also been following the journey, introduces herself. She informs the ladies that Marks was also a part of Clark's scheme. Lin and her father had obtained information on several of the auction's offenders, including the one who was flirting with Graciela. Lin also admits that she has a strong desire to succeed. When Clark realizes Nick lacks motivation, he has his guys beat him up. Later, Nick and his henchmen trace the ladies to their hideaway. They show them separate screens showing Abdul, Jonas, and Graciela's husbands and children, who are all being held at gunpoint by his men. Nick demonstrates his mettle by assassinating Lin's father and having his men assassinate Jonas and then Abdul, but the ladies relent and give him the drive before they can assassinate Graciela's family. Nick and his crew, as well as Lin, take the drive so she can run it. Graciela checked in with her family to see if they were okay. After grieving for their losses, the other girls decide to pursue Nick when they discover that Lin's spectacles include a camera that allows them to see where she is going. While the rest of the crew plans an assault, Nick takes Lin to his hotel and forces her to decrypt the disk. Nick directed his goons to take Lin outside and kill her after she finished decrypting the disk. Lin fights them off and manages to kill 3 of Nick's goons as they were ready to do so. After that, the ladies set off an explosion and attack Nick's thugs. They fight it out in a shootout. After killing most of them, Mace battles Nick, beating him to the ground, leaving him on /STHE balcony. Has this secure the drive, Nick then gets up and shoots Marie in the shoulder and nearly /skills Mace before Graciela shoots him. Authorities approach to arrest the women, but Khadija burns the drive first. 2 months later, Nick finds Clark down and shoots him dead. He weasels his way back into the CIA as the new director, with Grady helping him track /Stown Mace and the others as they are reported as being on the run. Mace ultimately finds Nick herself in his home and is joined by Khadija, Graciela, /S Marie, and Lin. They slip Nick a poison in his drink and tell him they plan to turn him in to be placed /sin in international prison for his crimes. The ladies go and part ways until they are summoned to work together again. And this is where movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.